Alright, now you want to start setting with your water background. So you're going to lay out some tape right there at the bottom of your sun. And you want to kind of go as even as you can with the bottom of the canvas here. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as even as you can. And you want to make sure that this line right here is set down pretty good. It's the important one, not up top, just this bottom line. And just like you did up here in the sky when you very first started. But we want to keep in mind where our sun's at right here. You can see it through the tape. And you lay lines out. Just like you did in the sky. You're going to lay these lines out. Remember to keep it brighter here and darker as you go out. And graduate through your colors, but do not use blue. We forgot red. We forgot red. So we got to lay in some red. Well, I'm running out of room, everybody. Anyways, drag this out with your 2-inch, a dry brush. Remember to flip your brush over and drag it out just like you did on the top. And this is going to make your wave action. And we'll work with what's there. Remember, you just want to remember you got paint in that brush. And you easy does it, easy does it. You just kind of halfway blend this together to get rid of these hard lines. Remember, you want to do less brushing towards the middle and more brushing on the outside. Like this, and just be real easy with it, and keep working it. As that paint sets, it's going to soak down into the canvas, and you want it easy. And remember, you want to smooth it out just like you did in the sky. You want to smooth this out. We're going to end up brightening it up and making some waves in there. But this isn't going to be like a realistic type wave that you see with the wave right in front of your face. Make sure that this is nice and smoothed out. Keep coming across as many times as you need to get the paint smooth. I think that's going to be really nice. If you see any hard lines in there, go ahead and smooth them out, but be real easy with it. And at this point, you're still going to see some of the grain of the canvas coming through. But it's going to be a lot less. We'll end up coming with some nice wave action through there. And you lift this up. You want to let that part dry for a minute. And next thing you want to do is lay some yellow down. Come in with a script liner. And right there where the sun's at, remember it's an up and down thing. You want to make this water line. Boy, it's hard to see it. But remember, waves off in the distance are not exactly a perfect line, because they got a little bit of movement to them. So you kind of fade and kind of let it ease off as you go, that way. And the same thing going this way. See how I dragged the brush that time and it made a fine line? That's not what you want. You kind of want to do a sewing needle action, up and down. Let your brush touch the canvas. If it wavers just a little bit, then that's fine, as long as you follow this line. But you want it to waver up and down just a little bit. And if you think it needs more light on one side, then do that. Come in here just like this. Keep coming all the way. Now we're going to do a little bit of land right there, so you can kind of let this fade off to the edge, because we're going to do a little bit of land right here coming out with some bushes and stuff, and a little bit on this side too. So that right there and this over here, you don't got to worry about it. Just right through here. And then we want to go to our filbert again, our trusty filbert, our medium sized. And drag the paint, and when you do this, it pushes the paint and the brush, but it also puts it on the edge when you drag it like this. Okay, and now we want to do just a little bit of a shine right there from the sun. Just kind of easy does it, very light pressure. Kind of follow the geometry of the sun. You know, this will give you some light rays coming out, brighten up the painting and start giving it a little bit of life. Uh-oh. You see, that looks like a little curve right there. Don't want a curve. So you just kind of ease it out like that, and barely put some paint on your bristles. And wherever it is you have a bright spot, just remember that you need to follow the geometry from where the bright spot is to where the point is that you want to put a ray. So it would be like this, see? So it would be falling out this way. Now if you want to use a guideline, you can. Oh crap! That was an old brush. Oh man. Well, we just messed that up. That'll be alright. You know, mistakes happen. We'll let that dry out and we'll come back and fix it. But anyways, like I said, you can use a guideline like this and you point it directly at where the sun's at. I know if you've been watching any of my videos, then you've seen me do this before. And you come in and you just pop a line like this. And it'll put a ray out there. But remember, you have to do it on your bright spots, like right here. Just like that. You can do it at different spots. It'll add, like I said, it'll add a little bit of life to your painting. And remember, this is going to fade out some because acrylics always dry darker. Now I'm fixing to show you a star throwing technique. As soon as we finish this, I'm going to show you a star throwing technique that you can use in just about any painting that you want stars in. But the only part I'm going to do it in is in the very top up here. Cast you a few light rays, just like this. Add a little life, like I said, to your painting. Make it look nice. And you come off with something like that. Alright, now if you want to throw some stars, you can lay some white. And I've got a 1/2 inch brush. No, it's a 1 inch brush. See, it's really long bristles. It's a synthetic brush, and it's the cheap variety. It's not expensive. And you dip your bristles into the paint and kind of halfway beat them in. You ain't got to hit it real hard, because you only want the paint sitting here on the end of the bristles. Not necessarily on the end. You see a little bit comes off, but not a ton. But you want them a little bit in the bristles, but not way up here. And then you take your big brush, and you're going to use this, and you're going to pat, 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 and you're going to tap it. Just like this. And it'll put a lot of stars in your sky. And you do a few little like that, and you want more in the top and less as it comes down. But that's a way to get thousands of little stars in there real quick. And you don't, like I said, you don't want them down low, just up high. And it'll add a little interest like that. And we're going to come back and start highlighting this in a little bit. We're going to let this dry for about an hour, and then we'll come back and start making some wave action down here. Okay, to start your, uh-oh. Oh, I rushed that, it's okay. To start out here on the bottom for your water, we want to, I want to highlight in some of these waves, and you can see I've got some color in there that I need to cover up, but we'll do that as we work it. And I want to bring in just a little piece of landmass right here, and a bigger piece over here coming up to about here where this dark is. We'll go ahead and start on that. But first you want to lay out a detail line for the edge of your wave, or waves. Just remember that a wave, it always has a slight roll to it. So if you wanted to go around down like that, you'll have a roll to it. And see, I think I want to darken that in. It's lighter right there. So you want to do just the opposite of what you did on your clouds. Whereas you see the sun's here, so you've got your dark part up here and then your bright spot coming down and fading out as it faces the sun. Well, you want to do the opposite thing with the waves. The light's here, so you want the dark on the bottom. So you want the dark on the bottom. And I'll show you what I mean to do the underside of the wave. But we've got to line this out. You want the dark on the bottom and the light right there. And we'll work our light back towards the sun, just like we did up here. You was working back down towards the sun, so we want to work in that way. Just kind of follow that along out a little bit. So what we're doing right now is we're just laying a basic guideline. You'll end up coming back and doing some more highlighting, so you really don't have to worry about it much. And we're going to do some grasses and stuff coming up, so all you really need is a basic wave pattern. We're not trying to do a wave that's right there in your face. That's not what we're trying to do for this painting. I'm doing this really to teach color stacking, and when you learn how to color stack, you can create just about anything that you want to. Faces, buildings, you name it, you can paint it. If you can learn how to do this basic color stack, then you can paint anything in the world that you can possibly think of. And I'll keep stressing that point in my upcoming videos. And remember, it's all basically the same. There's not a whole lot of difference in the way it works from piece to piece. It's just different colors. And you have to know when you lay a color down, the color that's underneath, how much that's going to bleed through and make your next color change. And then when you put a color on top of that, what's going to happen? What color is it going to turn? That's what you need to know. And when you figure that out, when you figure that part out, then you got it whooped. I'm telling you, you got it whooped. You can make anything you want after that. All you have to do is think about what shape it is that you're doing, and then you got it, pretty much, more or less. So black and purple, what we're working with right now. I'm going to use my filbert for this. I'm going to come in over on this other side. So I'm going to work over here some. See, my pallet's trying to move on me. You got to be careful because I'm at the end of it, and if that slides out too far, then boop, whoops, mistake time. Now move some of these other brushes out of the way that I'm not using. So you want to come in at a slight triangle shape, just like this. And remember that the land is always going to be higher than the water line. You come in and zigzag this back and forth and kind of move it around, and you let some of that other color come through. You don't necessarily have to completely cover it. All right. Now you want to go to your number 0 round, and remember, you just barely want to put some paint in this brush. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. Kind of tap it around real good. You come in right there and just do some little flicks like this. It'll make like little grasses. You could even go a little bit darker and do like a little tree. A little bit thicker paint. You just kind of tap it out there in whatever shape you think it should be. And we'll come back and do a little bit of color on top of that. Just do little flicks and little hints of little grasses coming up here and there. Now down here on the coast where I live, we got a lot of palm trees, and I know people are fond of painting palm tree scenes, and I like them. So I might put 1 or 2 in here, but we have other kinds of trees that grow along the beaches here as well. Especially if anybody's familiar with Florida and the Gulf Coast of the United States, and all up and down the west coast of Florida, not the east coast, but the west coast, the part that faces the Gulf of Mexico, you've got all kinds of different trees growing in there in the bayous and next to the beaches. So just knock it out like that. And you can even get you a little bit of this yellow. Now you're going to get some brownish hues in there from this, but that's okay because you still got color in your brush. want that color in there. Pop your little beach grass in there, like this. And like I said, we're just building up color is really is all we're doing. It'll end up looking a good bit different when we're done. But all we're really doing is we're just setting the background. And I need to go rinse this 0 round out. Now you can keep a glass of water handy if you want to, but I've got a sink handy right there. And this paint's been sitting for a few minutes, so it's not dry, but it has settled down into the paint some. So remember, you've got all this color you've already laid down. So we're going to lay yellow on top of that, and this is just a craft paint, everybody. It's not, it's a less expensive paint. And, no wait, I'm painting on the wrong side. Painting on the wrong side, people. You want to face the sun with this light. And you don't want it perfectly blended like you did up here in these flatter looking clouds. You don't want to blend it that well. You want it more like this or like that. It's just to give the impression of a wave. I've never really actually done a big study on waves, but this is my closest impression. So but we're going to be stacking color multiple times. And like I said, you don't want it perfectly blended because you know water beats around whenever it's rolling like that. So you want to kind of give it a little bit of action. Like I said, don't worry about perfectly blending it. You want some brush strokes and stuff in there. Remember, you want less and less attention. You just want a little color. The closer you get up this way, the less of that you want. Maybe just put a little hint of color like that. And the closer you get, the more of this wave action you want. Because as they get closer, they seem to be larger and larger when they're really, there's not that whole much of a lot of difference in size. It's just whether it's more extreme. It gets at a more extreme angle, so the wave breaks and it makes it look way bigger. I guess in a way it might be bigger because it's, you know, it does kind of peak it up and push it up a little bit, but it doesn't. It actually tends to lose height as it gets closer to the shore, believe it or not. But it's whenever it's starting to lose that height whenever it gets more violent and it starts rolling over on itself, it only does that at the beach. It has to be a really bad storm for something like that to happen offshore, because I've been way offshore. And, it can get kind of crazy out there. A lot of shrimpers. I don't know if anybody out there likes shrimp or not, but boy, them shrimpers do sure have a dangerous job. There's certain kind of sea snakes out there that they accidentally pick up in their net sometimes, and one drop of poison from them things will put you out of business. I mean, business for life. Like, you'll be dead unless they have an antivenom on the boat, which I know some of them shrimpers actually do carry an antivenom for that particular snake with them, just in case they get one on the boat, somebody gets bit. Because those particular snakes are badass, man. They're not very long, they're not very big snakes, but one drop of poison is enough to kill a man, just one little drop. I forget the name of the snake. I have had some buddies that worked on shrimp boats, and they've told me about them things, and there's a whole bunch of different kinds of snakes out there swimming around in the ocean that you don't even know about. Anyway, just doing a little highlight here in the sky. Try to bring it out some more. Well, this piece is really turning out nice. I'm liking it so far. I hope y'all are, if y'all are painting along, I'm hoping you're enjoying the one that you're doing. Alright, go back to this black and purple. Don't worry about that yellow you had in there, because it's pretty. This black and purple will pretty much cover it up. But you want to go to the bottom of this wave and just kind of highlight in like this. Remember, the deeper the break, the bigger the shade. Alright, so when you have just a little break right there, you want to get just a little bit of shade, and then you kind of go off on the edge like that. And it'll make that wave look like it'll give it just a little bit of movement to your painting. When you get, like I said, when you get a dip, make it darker, make a bigger dark area. And then where you're getting just the easy break, do a real thin dark area like that. So you can pop this black in around through these where you had that wave action going on. And just kind of work that darkness out of your brush as you go off to the side, and it'll kind of get less and less paint. Now right up here, right up under the sun, I've got a little dark area right there. So we want to kind of darken that in just a little bit. Just kind of ease that in there. I mean, you just barely want your bristles touching. And just kind of ease a little dark area in there. And then right up under this little bright area right here. To the edges. Remember everybody, this is a color stacking process and it takes a little while to scrub this in. So, you know, don't get too impatient. Like I said, you can take your time. And, you know, it just takes as long as it takes. Anyway, we're going to let this sit up and I'm going to let it dry some and then I'll come back and do some more. Alright, so we want to go and finish working on our wave portion, or at least continue along with it. Remember I said you ain't got to get in no rush. It takes as long as it takes. You put down a little bit of black and purple. And I'm using my little small round. You see, just barely put it in the black, and then just a little bit of that purple. You kind of come in between and mix them together. Beat it up in that brush pretty good. Now you want to come right down here to the bottom of where you laid this highlight, that bright highlight, and just tap in a little bit of color right on the bottom of it. Kind of rub back and forth. You don't want a whole ton of paint on your bristles. You want them up in the bristles, not sitting on the outside, so that you can rub that color in there pretty good. You want to hit each one of these, and you can see here it kind of goes up and then comes down, and you want to hit it right there. That's where you want to get that dark in there. You want it thicker right there and then thinner, and then go up to where them round parts are, just like that. You know, add shadow, and it makes it look like the way it's rolling when you do it like that. And the first few times that you do it, it's not exactly going to look really realistic, but you can keep working. Keep working on it, and the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And you don't want to leave a hard line there. You kind of ease it off, ease the transition in there. Kind of little wiggle action with your brush. Remember, you're going to have less and less paint in your brush, so you can scrub a little bit harder to get that color in there. And then come back along the bottom edges of them lines right there and kind of ease it, kind of scrub it a little bit like this. And it'll take that hard line out of there. And you can use your finger to rub it too. Don't be afraid to get your hands in there. If you think it's too thick in one spot, just kind of rub it off with your finger, and then rub your finger off on a towel or something. Just like that. And you want to keep working till you get all the way down. Now these two closest ones, this one and this one, remember they're not going to be as deep of a rolling wave, so you want less shadow. You don't want as much shadow. You want a little bit less, so you don't want to necessarily bring it down any. Now right up in here we're going to do something that'll almost look like an eye right there, but where the sun would be shining through the thinnest part of the wave, like it's real thin at the top and it's real thick at the bottom. So you might even get a little light shining through the top of that wave, and the way that you accomplish that is to leave that color there in the middle, and you come in with the bottom, which we're going to do in a minute, and I'm going to show you how to do it. And we'll bring in some black and blue and work our way out on some of these on the edges there. And that way you can pop a little blue in there and it'll kind of match up with the blue that you got in the sky. Okay, you want to kind of randomize this as you get closer. Remember, because it's a washout down here, when it gets close to you, it's got to crash over and wash out. So you just kind of random it like that, just like that. All right, now you want to lay out some dark blue. You're not going to use that purple right now. You're going to use some dark blue. You're going to use your medium-sized filbert. Here, always make sure that it's good and rinsed out. I just had it sitting in water from the last time. So you come in with a little black and a little blue, and then kind of beat them colors in there together. You want it more black. You barely want that blue to come through at all. But you want to see just a little blue hint. And where you got your, this is going to be your biggest wave. You see you got the biggest curve here. And it's kind of at that point to where it's going to start breaking. And then this one is going to be a breaker too. And then these two will be like a washout. So you just come in right there. Actually, I want to go side to side. And you kind of connect it to this other black on the top. And you don't want any hard lines. You just barely want any color to come off at all. You just want to add a little shadow. That's all you're doing. And you kind of rub your finger back and forth like this, depending on how much moisture is in your paint. Just like that. And you kind of work it off to the edge. Same here. You work that color in that way. Work it on across. Clean your brush out with that color. Now you want to do the same thing on this wave. But be real careful not to get back into that yellow. Be real careful to do that. You just want to stay just on the top of it. And kind of barely wiggle this brush back and forth. And remember to create that washout. You can do the same thing here above the top of this. And remember, these darker colors tend to cover up the grain of the canvas really well. So if you have a little bit of that grain of that canvas coming through like that, then you can hide them with that darker color. Okay, you want to rinse your filbert out. Sling it out real good. You want to lay out some orange. Just plain orange by itself. You want as little moisture on this brush as you can. But that's okay because this paint's thinner anyway, so it's like a craft type paint. And you can almost see through it. It's almost translucent. But when you lay it in multiple layers like this, it works really well. Now you want to go right to the center right there and work in a back and forth pattern, just like this. Right there where the thinnest part of that wave would be. And it'll make it glow a little bit right there in the middle. That's really all you're trying to accomplish that way. And we'll come back and lay in some lighter color on top of that, and maybe even do a little light beam coming down through it. That would look pretty neat, I think. Like I said, really, really lightly come in here and scrub this color. Just like that. Okay, now you can lay it a little heavier because we're going to work on this washout on these bottom two waves. So you don't want to tap the paint in the brush as hard. So what you're going to do is you're going to just kind of tap around and kind of half drag and half tap. And then we'll come back and highlight some of this with some brighter color. Anyway, just kind of tap around, and when you do that, it's going to push the paint to the edge of the brush, and it's going to make a little sharp little dot on there, just like this. You want to get color all around in an abstract way, just like that. Always remember, it's very important to rinse your brush out as soon as you're done using it. Don't just let your brush sit there like I did this one. See, I set it down, and then we really need to go ahead and rinse it off. And take care of these brushes because they're a little more costly. They're not really super cheap brushes. But we're going to let this sit up and dry for a little bit, and then we'll come back and do more highlighting down here in the bottom, and really kind of try to bring that out some more. And I'm not really concerned about really much of this area or this area because we're going to have some foliage type stuff going on that's going to kind of hide that. So we want to focus coming up this way in a triangular shape that's going to make you look here, and then of course you got your sun on the side, and you balance your light beams from side to side, so it kind of brings your focus there in the middle. That's why we put that bright spot right there, remember. So we'll have to use the way our foliage is coming in to accent the middle of the painting. And it'll look nice when we're done. Anyways, just let this dry for a day or two, and then come back and work on it some more.